could it not be they're gathering there in memory of their brotherhood? And it's not the trauma of dying on the battlefield, per se, but they are there to reunite and spend time with their brothers that they fought with. And that was their happy time. And we talk a lot about ghosts going back to where they're happiest. Well, perhaps a lot of these soldiers going, marching with your friends, going into battle, this might be their happy moment. Because there wasn't much, going on in the 1800s like we have today. And so that was something that I was starting to think about, instead of always saying, oh, these soldiers died, that's why they're still here. Maybe it's because it's their happy place. And another aspect that we were talking about that I pointed out was Gettysburg was what we call an accidental battle. It wasn't supposed to happen. Majority of the other battles in the Civil War were planned, they were expected, so the soldiers knew what was coming. But at Gettysburg, nobody knew where each other was, and clashed and had 3 days of blind luck, so to speak. And I think that's why the energy of Gettysburg is somewhat different from the others, is the soldiers didn't have that, let's put ourselves in the mentality of, today may be the day, I meet my maker. Or I'll get lucky and come out of it. But I'm going to make peace with that. They didn't have that at Gettysburg. Gettysburg was, you look over the line of sight and you're like, oh my God, there's rifles pointed at me. What the hell? What am I supposed to do? So that was where I was going with the Civil War, and going, maybe we need to start re-looking at what we're thinking all these soldiers are doing here. So that was food for thought for you, Sage.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in a second. And that's a very fair point, because I know from my time in travels to Gettysburg and spending a ton of time in Gettysburg, there's a lot of perfect storm hauntings. There's times they will see residual fighting, like they're stuck in a loop, but there'll also be times where they are quite literally just walking around. And you bring up a very, very solid point there, because I do feel like, especially other battlefields I've been to, it's almost like they're coming together to remember that's where they fought. The veterans at Gettysburg did come back until they were all gone for anniversaries. So it's very possible they're still gathering there in their own minds after they've passed on as well.
It was also very ancient. In Greece, after the Trojan War and up until the days of Rome, the Trojan War that happened in Troy was like Gettysburg.
Yes.
It was a birth location. People in the antique world knew what it was. So you have to disregard the Schleiman propaganda that he discovered it, but everybody knew where it was. And there was a Lemnian, an Lemnian named Philostratos, who was most famous for writing the biography of Apollonius of Diana. He wrote a tourist's guide to Troy. And people reported there seeing warriors from the Trojan War. Some people were famous, recognizable, most